Welcome back. You're watching SA Today with me, Unati Bagyasha. Let's continue here now. South African President Cyril Ramaphosa says the organized nature and speed with which the July 2021 riots unfolded made it impossible for the police to handle the unrest, even if they had intelligence. The SAPS have been criticized for not being able to prevent the looting and destruction of properties and businesses. Some of the police failures have been blamed on the divisions and poor working relations between then National Police Commissioner Kehla, Sitole and Police Minister Bheki, Cele. Ramaphosa has been testifying at the hearings of the South African Human Rights Commission's investigations into last year's unrest. Now let's get analysis. We are joined via Zoom by Dr. Jakkie Cilliers, head of African Futures and Innovation Institute for Security Studies. Dr. Cilliers, thank you so much for your time this afternoon. But before we get into President Ramaphosa's testimony, I'd like very quickly to get your reaction, firstly, to the appointment yesterday of General Fani Masimula as a new police commissioner. Now, a lot of people on the one hand are very happy with this appointment because of the qualifications within the SAPS, but some are cautioning, of the close relationship that he currently enjoys with the current police minister. Your thoughts?
I personally and the Institute welcome the appointment. The new commissioner is a professional policeman. He seems to have an unblemished record within the police. He's highly respected. And very important, he seems to have a good relationship with the minister, because the relationship between the minister and the previous commissioner clearly was a problem. And so the minister sat in on the recruitment panel. He didn't chair it. Former Minister Sidney Mufamadi chaired it. And we're happy about the candidate. He seems to have been the best candidate amongst all of them, and seems to come to the post with a clear understanding of his role. And as I've said, we have a problem in the sense that the president appoints the national commissioner and director generals, and this is an issue that perhaps at some time we will revisit in terms of our constitution. But it's very important that there be a good working relationship. We have so often seen in South Africa that the relationships between the minister and the director general becomes a problem when a new minister takes over. So I think welcome his job. He clearly has a big job in front of him, but by all indications, a highly competent policeman.
And in fact, we look forward to that review that you just mentioned now in terms of, how do we appoint police commissioners in this country, particularly if you have to look at the track record of the previous national police commissioners. It is not that great. All right, so let's continue now on just today's topic as we begin to unpack the president's testimony earlier. I'd like to believe the most important things he needed to bring across was to inspire confidence back into law enforcement in the country, was that to ensure the unrest never happens again, firstly, and secondly, to ensure instigators or the masterminds and the perpetrators of that violence are brought to book. Do you think he's managed to cover these aspects?
Well, let's first start off with the point that the willingness of the president to appear in front of the Human Rights Commission is really to be welcomed. He sets an example to all of us in terms of the rule of law. I think what his testimony and his response to the questions have revealed is what the Sandy Africa report underlined, which is a dysfunctional national executive. It is really quite amazing that you have a president that can say that he's not available, that the Minister of Intelligence said he's not available for briefings, that the entire top security architecture of South Africa doesn't work. The Sandy Africa report is absolutely damning in that, and the president basically admitted it. The National Security Council doesn't meet. The various systems, the so-called the organization that is supposed to clear intelligence and then provide it, nobody paid any attention to it. Now, one can understand that to the degree that state security was captured during the Zuma era, and how it has been discredited and factionalized. But it is really a severe indictment of the executive of this country that you don't have a security apparatus that operates. It's quite amazing.
I mean, to that point, the question then comes up, to what extent, was factionalism in the ruling party, to what extent did they have a role in the July unrest? And then the question then becomes, how do we make sure that it doesn't happen again?
Factionalism within the ANC is the primary reason for the July riots. There's absolutely no doubt about it. The infighting and the corruption and to a degree incompetence within the ANC is what led to the July riots. We had a president who abused the security system, established a parallel system outside of the intelligence. Money was funneled from there, apparently in the interests of his political interests. It is an entire dismantling of, in particular, intelligence. Police were less affected. The military has just simply, in a sense, been underfunded to the extent that it has become a challenge to where we go with our military. But behind all of this is this issue that we started about talking, and that is, how can you have a country where there is no management of the security side of your business? I mean, you have getting economic growth going, which is what the president is spending a lot of his time on, and then managing the security of the country. But of course, what the president spends 80% of his time on is management of the internal factions within the ANC.
And so, just given his testimony and other testimonies that we have been seeing over the past couple of weeks, one does now get a better understanding, given what happened, that it was inevitable that we were going to be dealing with a crisis that unfortunately led to so many deaths. I mean, President Cyril Ramaphosa, after his testimony, speaking to the media, they're saying that the unrest exposed our, weaknesses as government. It also exposed our lack of unpreparedness. Inside the chambers where he was testifying, he also said he never got any intelligence report warning of the impending riots. How worrying is this for you, given the many commissions that have been set up over the years in the past, poking some of the loopholes that we see in our intelligence services?
It's absolutely astounding.
Yeah.
I mean, the Sandy Africa report already laid this out. It's just amazing that you can have the executive of a relatively sophisticated country like South Africa, where there is no functioning coordination of the security agencies. I mean, it's mind-boggling, it wonder that. You left speechless when I read the Sandy Africa report the first time, and she pointed to the lack of coherence and the fact that this minister didn't say that minister, and they don't trust one another, and intelligence reports were given, no, they were not given, and so on. It really is very concerning. And in the run-up to the December 2022 ANC elections, I mean, the country is in a state of anxiety about that. We already see violence escalating. And given the high levels of inequality, poverty, poor governance, and so on in South Africa, tension is high, and we could see a resurgence of what happened in July, unless our security agencies are vigilant and react and are on top of the situation. So, but I think that government has recognized what is happening. Let's hope that we will see some implementation of the recommendations of the various panels of inquiry, commissions of inquiry that have been done, that have all pointed to not only the problem of political interference, but just the incapacitation of intelligence. Money is not a problem in the police; it's the management of their money that is the problem. So hopefully, the new National Commissioner will undertake a thorough review of how policing works and how it interacts with the other agencies, because we have serious issues that we need to get on top of if we are going to keep a lid on instability in South Africa while we get the economy going. And that's going to take 5, 10, 20 years to grow ourselves out of the challenges of inequality and poverty and unhappiness that we generally see in South Africa. There's no short-term solution to this.
And one does certainly hope that, following the president's testimony, in which, like you say, he said that the various corrective measures that have been suggested will be implemented with haste. One obviously also suggests and hopes that the instigators and the perpetrators will be brought to book. Dr. Cilliers, that's all the time we have for this afternoon. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you so much. That is Dr. Jakkie Cilliers, head of the African Futures and Innovation Institute for Security Studies. Let's take you here.